The chair rocked once and stopped. She didn't see him come in, just found him there. Small, still, barefoot and bone-thin. He sat crooked like his ribs wouldn't let him sit right. Torn sleeves, dirt on his knees, and a quiet that pressed against the walls. Her hands tightened around the bucket. "You don't sit there." The boy didn't look up. "That's not for you." He blinked once, eyes fixed low. Mama said he'd be mad. The bucket hit the floor harder than she meant. Water sloshed across the boards. She didn't move to clean it. "You lost?" He shook his head. "You deaf?" "No, ma'am." "Then speak like you were raised to." He didn't answer. She stepped closer. The chair hadn't moved since her husband left. Not once, not even during the storms. She'd rocked herself to sleep on the porch, curled by the stove, but never touched that chair. "What's your name?" The boy shrugged. "Don't shrug at me." "Don't get one." "You got a mother?" He nodded. "She sent you here?" He hesitated. "Said this was where I would go." "This ain't a home for strays." He looked up just once. Brown eyes, rimmed red. Not tears. Not yet. "She said he owes." Her throat went tight. "Who's he?" "Your husband." She stepped back. He dropped his eyes again. "Mama said he'd be mad if I came alone." The room felt smaller, walls closer. "You don't just walk into a house and sit in a man's chair." She said it was mine now. The wind outside caught the screen door. It creaked like it always did, but it felt louder now. "You're cold?" He nodded. She reached for the fire, lit it without thinking. Her hands moved on their own. Years of habit. Wood crackled. Sparks rose. "Are you hungry?" He nodded again. She moved slowly. Didn't like how quiet he was. Didn't like how natural he looked in that chair. Didn't like that it rocked once when he sat, and then stopped like it knew. Bread, dry but warm. She placed it on the table. He didn't move. "You gonna eat or stare at the floor?" "Mama said don't eat till spoken to." "I'm speaking." He got up, walked slowly, and sat across from her. Didn't touch the bread. "What's her name?" She said not to say. "Then what can you say?" The boy looked at the wall. "Said you'd know. I don't." "She said you would." The fire cracked. She wiped her palms on her skirt, not even sure why. "Is she sick?" "Gone." "Gone where?" The boy didn't answer. She stared at the chair again. How long had it been since anyone sat there? Since that man put his boots on the table and dared her to say something? Since the badge vanished and the debts grew like rot? She said he owed? He nodded. "Owed what?" He shrugged. "You don't get to walk in here and speak riddles." "I didn't walk." "What?" "I ran." She went still. "Ran from what?" "Smoke." The fire behind them popped like it heard. She turned toward the door, as if smoke would be waiting there too. "How far?" "Long." "You alone the whole way?" "Yes, ma'am." "And this is where she told you to go?" He nodded. "Not the church?" "No." "Not the town?" "No." "Here?" "Yes, ma'am." The wind shifted. The fire pulled left. Her stomach turned with it. "What was your mama's name?" He traced a knot in the table with his finger. "Say it." "I can't." "You remember it." He nodded. "Then say it." He didn't. She stood, moved toward the chair, reached to touch the worn armrest, the smooth groove left from years of weight and rocking and power. She didn't touch it. "Why'd she send you to his house?" "She said this was mine now." "That chair doesn't belong to you." "She said it did." "No one just gives that chair." He looked at it like he didn't believe that either. "She said he'd know what to do." Her eyes narrowed. "He's not here." The boy stood. I walked back to the chair. Sat again. Slower this time. It didn't rock. It just held him. "She said he'd come if I waited here." She stepped back. "He's not coming." "She said he won't die easily." The fire dimmed. Just for a second. Her hands shook without asking her permission. "What's your mama's name?" She whispered again. He looked up. "Yours." She didn't breathe. The chair rocked once, only once, and then it stopped. She stared at the boy, at the fire, at the badge still nailed above the mantel where no one had dared touch it, not even her. She didn't speak again that night. Neither did he. She didn't sleep. He was still there this morning. The fire had died low. Shadows bled across the floor. The boy was curled in the chair now, legs tucked up, chin buried in the rags he called sleeves. She set the kettle hard on the stove. The clang made him flinch, but he didn't speak. "That's his chair." He shifted, but not enough. "You hear me?" "Yes, ma'am." She stepped closer. "You want to eat again? You get up from there." Mama said, "It's mine now." Her chest pulled tight. She stared at the chair, still scarred from boot heels. The same worn leather, still holding a shape that didn't belong to a child. She lied. He didn't blink. She lied about a lot of things. If she sent you here thinking there's anything left of him, she lied. She said he'd come back if I sat here. Her voice cracked. He won't. She said he won't die easily. She stepped back like slapped. "You know what he was?" He shook his head. "A coward." He looked up. She said he was a badge. He was. And then he wasn't. The kettle whined. She turned fast. More noise. Then movement. Hands shaking as she pulled it off the flame. "Tea," she muttered. He nodded once. She poured it rough, spilled some, set it on the table without a word. "You get out of that chair. Now." He stayed. I said, "Mama said don't move till he tells me." "He won't tell you." "She said he'd speak through you." Her stomach twisted. "You're not staying." He didn't reply. She slammed her hand down. "Say something." "I'm waiting." "For what?" His voice was soft. "For you to remember." Her knees buckled just slightly. "Remember what?" "She said you knew him before the badge." She backed away. "Get up." "No, ma'am." "I'll drag you out." "You won't." "Don't try me." He didn't move. "Why would she send you?" "She said I belong here." "You belong with her." "She's gone." The words hung like cold iron. She stared at the floor. "Gone where?" He didn't answer. Her hands curled into fists. "You come into my house, sit in his chair, speak in riddles." "I ain't lying." "You are a lie. Whatever she told you, whatever story she spun, he's not coming. And I don't need another mouth, or memory, or ghost." He looked at the fire. "Mama said he had ghosts too." "Did she say he buried them in the yard?" He flinched. She stepped forward, close enough to grab him. "You're leaving now, before the sun's high." He gripped the chair arms. "Mama said you'd try." She yanked his wrist. He squirmed but didn't fight. "I don't care what she said." He pulled loose, shoved back into the chair. "She said you were the only one he never hit." Her mouth froze open. The wind howled through the cracked window. He whispered, "She said you were the only one who made him stop." Tears welled up, not from now, from before, from that night by the barn, from bruises that weren't hers. She lied. She didn't. "You don't know anything. I know the scar on her back." She looked away. She said he never said sorry. He didn't. She said he left something behind. "What?" The boy reached into his coat, pulled out a locket, held it in his palm like it was burning. "Yours?" He shook his head. She said it was hers. "And yours before that." She didn't move. He opened it. Inside, a photo. Faded. She is younger, his face beside hers, smiling like he never smiled. Her knees gave out this time. She grabbed the table edge. That picture was burned. She kept it. The boy stood, stepped forward, slowly. "She said he gave you that chair before the badge, before he turned cold." She said nothing. She said if anyone could tell the truth, it was you. He placed the locket on the table. She said he owed the truth. The room was still. Her voice cracked. "And what truths?" "That?" The boy sat again. The chair creaked once. "She said I was born of silence." She couldn't breathe. "Mama said you knew what that meant." She turned toward the stove, hand over her mouth. "You were—" He nodded. She whispered, "No." She said he tried to make her quiet, but I came anyway. The fire popped. She stared at the photo, at herself, untouched by time, at a man who used to speak gently. The chair rocked, just once, and then stopped. The knock wasn't gentle. She froze mid-step, hand still hovering over the kettle. The boy turned his head slowly toward the sound, but didn't speak. He was still curled in the chair, same as last night, like he hadn't moved at all. The knock came again, louder. She whispered, "Don't say a word." He nodded once, tight. She wiped her palms on her skirt and opened the door, just wide enough to see. Sheriff Merton stood on the porch. He didn't smile, didn't shift his weight, just stared like he had something already figured. "Morning," he said. "You're early." He leaned one shoulder against the post. "Didn't sleep?" She didn't open the door wider. "You gonna let me in?" "Didn't say you were invited." He looked past her, into the room. "Heard something strange came your way." "Like what?" "A boy." She didn't blink. "You heard wrong." He stepped forward. "You sure?" She didn't answer. He pushed the door gently and walked in without asking. The boy was still in the chair, still small, still wrapped in dirt and silence. The sheriff stared. "That him?" She stepped in front of the boy. "He's not yours." "I didn't say he was." "Then leave." He didn't move. "That chair," he said slowly, "wasn't empty last time I came here. It is now." The sheriff tilted his head. "Are you sure about that?" She looked over her shoulder. The boy's hands were gripping the armrests, white-knuckled. The sheriff stepped closer. "You got a name, son?" The boy didn't speak. "Boy?" she said quickly. "He doesn't talk much." "He got ears." "Yes." Then he should answer. She stood taller. "Are you questioning a child now?" "I'm wondering why a kid's shaking in your husband's chair." Her voice hardened. "He's cold." "He's hiding." "From who?" He looked at her. "Same thing you're hiding from." She didn't move. The sheriff walked to the mantel. His eyes landed on the badge nailed above the fire. Her husband's badge, not his. "Funny where people keep reminders," he muttered. "Funny who keeps taking them." He walked slowly around the table. Took his time. Eyes never off the boy. "You let him stay the night." He was out in the cold. "That's not what I asked." She didn't respond. "Who is he?" She folded her arms. "None of your business." He smiled, but it was all teeth. "Everything here's my business." "You weren't elected." "I wear the badge." "You stole it." The sheriff turned to the boy again. "Is that true, son?" "She says I stole it." The boy looked down at the floor. The sheriff crouched, trying to get eye level. "You know who used to sit there?" The boy nodded. "He was my friend," the sheriff said. "Till he went missing." The boy said nothing. "You know where he went?" The boy barely moved his lips. "Gone." "Gone where?" He shrugged. The sheriff straightened. "Boy's got secrets." She stepped forward. "And you've got boots muddying my floor." The sheriff looked at her now, eyes narrowed. "Did he say anything last night?" "No." "You sure?" "Yes." "Because I know your face when you lie." "You know nothing about me." He stepped closer. "I know what you covered for." She didn't flinch. "And what did you cover for?" The sheriff glanced at the fire. "You find anything strange buried out back lately?" She kept her jaw tight. "No shallow graves?" "No bones." "No answers." "Wrong house, then." He tapped the chair. The boy flinched. "Comfortable?" The boy didn't move. "Strange how that chair never creaked after your man disappeared. Not once. Till now." She spoke low. "Maybe it was waiting for someone honest." "Honest ain't what that chair knows." He stepped back toward the door. "You keep him here. You're asking for trouble." She crossed her arms. "He's just a child." He paused at the door. So is she. Her breath caught. He nodded toward the boy. "Watch him closely. Sometimes they come back in pieces." "Get off my porch." He didn't argue, just stepped into the wind and didn't look back. She closed the door slowly, bolted it. The boy hadn't moved. She walked to him, knelt down. "You all right?" He nodded. "What did you feel when he talked?" The boy's eyes glistened, like he wanted to tear something out of me. She sat back. He whispered, "That badge doesn't belong to him." "Number it doesn't." She stared at the fire. "He said your husband was his friend." "Everyone said that." "Till they weren't." The boy leaned forward. "Did my mama know him?" "She knew of him." "She said he helped her." She looked at the floor. "That's what he called it." "She said she paid." She touched the edge of the table. "I know." The boy whispered, "She said it was worth it." "If I found you." The fire cracked. She whispered, "What did she say about me?" The boy took out the locket. "Hold it carefully." "She said this belonged to you once." She reached out, slow. I took it. I opened it. The photo was faded now. Her face is young. His face beside hers. Smile thin. "She said to give you that. If you still had the fire." She closed the locket. "I still have it." He nodded. "She said you were the only one who ever made him scared." She smiled without joy. Then she remembered right away. The wind howled again. The boy whispered, "Do I stay?" She didn't answer right away. Then, "You stay. But you stay quiet." He nodded. Outside, boots crunched in the dirt, leaving, not gone. The badge above the mantel tilted slightly, and the chair creaked. But it didn't rock. Not yet. She hadn't touched the cabinet in 2 years. Dust lay thick on the drawers, cobwebs tight across the brass pulls. Still, her fingers found the old groove where the handle stuck. 3rd drawer down, left side. The boy sat on the floor now, knees pulled in, eyes fixed on the fire like it told stories. She yanked the drawer open. A puff of stale air hit her, heavy with mold and tobacco. And there it was, thick, leather-bound, cracked down the spine. Her husband's ledger. She didn't open it right away, just held it, weighing the years in her hands. The boy spoke softly. "Is that it?" She looked at him. "Is that the book he kept the names in?" She said nothing. Sat at the table. The cover creaked as she opened it. Ink faded but sharp. Pages yellowed. Columns of names, dates, figures. Some marked with X's. Some circled. Some scratched out entirely. The boy stood and stepped close. Too close. He pointed. There. She followed his finger. A name, scrawled between 2 thick lines. No first name. Just C. Whittle. Next to it, 3 vertical marks. Then a circle. And beside that, a faint stamp. Sheriff's seal. Her mouth went dry. She said he owed. What does that mean? She said he made a deal. What kind of deal? The boy shrugged. One that cost her. Her hand shook on the table. Did she ever say what he took? Number he took it with a smile. She turned the page, then another, and another. Names she knew. Folks still walking town. Roads like their boots didn't bleed the past. Then a page with a ribbon tucked inside. Faded red. Her hand froze. The boy touched the ribbon gently. Mama had one like that. She pulled it out. Threads came loose like they didn't want to be disturbed. Outside, a shadow moved across the window. She snapped the book shut. The boy jerked back. Stay quiet. He nodded. Boots scraped the porch. Then silence. She didn't open the door. Didn't have to. The sheriff lingered outside, just out of sight. She could feel it. The weight of someone waiting for the house to breathe wrong. The boy stepped away from the table. He said he'd come back for the book. What? Mama said he wanted it gone, that if I brought it to light, he'd burn for it. She moved to the fire, tossed in a piece of bark to stoke the flames. You think this thing matters to him? He nodded. She said he marked more than names. What else? Debts, secrets, what people paid to stay quiet. She opened the book again, turned pages slowly. Halfway through, symbols, strange marks beside names, a crescent, a triangle, a line through a circle. She whispered, "These weren't here before. He changed them." When? After your husband vanished. She stopped, looked down at her own name, small, neat, underlined twice, no symbol. She closed the book gently. Has he ever visited her? The boy didn't move. Sheriff, did he ever come by your home? He nodded. Alone? Yes. What did he want? She never said. I only cried after. She turned back toward the door. Shadow is still there, not moving. You said he'd come back for the book? He always does. She stood. I walked to the window, pulled the curtain back just enough. The sheriff stood near the fence post, chewing a matchstick, watching. She didn't blink. He tipped his hat. She let the curtain fall. I think he knows. The boy didn't ask what. She opened the stove, pulled out the tin where she kept the kindling, tucked the ledger underneath. You gonna burn it? He asked. Not yet. Why not? Because sometimes fire hides more than it reveals. The boy sat on the floor again. Quiet. She paced, back and forth. The air inside was heavier than the smoke. He whispered, Mama said truth's a kind of punishment. She stopped. I looked at him. And who's supposed to get punished? He didn't answer. Her? Me? You? She said he'd know. She picked up the poker and stirred the coals. Your mama said too much. She said just enough. You believe everything she told you? The boy shrugged. Did she ever lie? She didn't need to. Outside, gravel shifted, footsteps back down the porch. Is he gone? She opened the door and looked. Empty porch. No boot tracks leading away. Just a flat stillness. She locked the door again. He's not gone. He's waiting. For what? For the fire. She turned to the stove. stared at the tin inside. "Maybe we will give it to him," the boy whispered. "And then what?" "Then he owes you." She stared at the boy. "You don't know how debt works." He looked up. Neither did she. She moved to the mantel, took down the badge. It burned cold in her hand. "He gave this to you?" The boy nodded. "He dropped it after the last time." She turned it over, scratched beneath the metal, CW. Her heart stuttered. Not her husband's initials. "Hi." The one in the ledger, the one still standing outside. She looked at the badge one more time, then tossed it into the fire. It clanged once, then silence. The sheriff didn't knock again. Not that night. But his shadow stayed, waiting. The boy didn't ask. He just stood from the chair, walked past the stove, and opened the back door like he'd always lived there. She followed slowly, arms stiff at her sides. The yard was colder than it should have been. Dew clung to the grass. The chicken wire fence leaned left, half rotted. Beyond it, the old well. She hadn't been out there since before the ledger went quiet, before her husband stopped coming home. The boy didn't look back. He stepped over a fallen board and crouched low beside the stones that ringed the well. His fingers dug at the base of the rocks, peeling away moss and soft dirt like he knew where to touch. She stopped a few feet behind. "You know what you're doing?" He nodded. "She told me where." "You've never been here." She described it. "You sure?" He didn't answer, just kept digging. Small hands, pale, steady. She stepped forward. The earth smelled wrong. Not rot. Something older, something forgotten. He stopped suddenly. Fingers froze mid-scoop. Then, gently, he pulled something from the dirt. A ribbon. Red. Faded but whole. Her breath caught. He held it out to her. "Is it hers?" She didn't take it, just stared. "Looks like it." He stood, wiping his hands on his pants. "She said he put her here." Silence closed around them. Even the birds stopped. "You're sure?" He nodded. "She said it was the only place he thought you wouldn't look." Her legs nearly gave. She reached for the stones to steady herself. "I thought she ran." She tried. "You said she was sick." She was. She stared at the ribbon. What else did she say? She said she begged. Her eyes stung. She said he told her, "No one will dig near the well. That's the rule." She backed away. The boy held the ribbon tighter. "You knew the rule?" She nodded barely. "He didn't like folks near the water." "Why not?" "Said it needed to stay clean. Said bad things grew in still water." He looked down at the grave. "She wasn't bad." "I know." "She said she told you once. About me." "She didn't say your name." "She said you'd forget." "I didn't forget." "Then why didn't you come?" She sank down beside him. "Because I didn't believe her." The boy looked at her. "She said you would say that too." She touched the dirt. Slow. Cold seeped through her skin. "How deep do you think it is?" "I don't know." "Did she say?" "No." "Did she ask you to dig?" He shook his head. "She said just to show you." She nodded slowly. "That's enough," she whispered. The wind moved around them. The boy turned back toward the house. She stayed by the well. "Have you ever seen him do it?" "No." "Did she?" She said he smiled after. The sun was rising behind the trees, but the light didn't reach her skin. The boy paused. "Are you going to leave her there?" She closed her eyes. "I don't know." She said it doesn't matter now. He walked back to the porch, sat on the steps. She stayed beside the grave. The ribbon lay on her lap now, stained at the tip. Blood or dirt, she couldn't tell. She remembered the last time her husband brought a woman to the edge of the yard, said he was showing her how the pump worked. She'd watched from the window, saw the way the girl flinched when he touched her wrist. The same red ribbon had been tied in her hair. She hadn't said anything, hadn't gone outside. She had turned back to the stove, stirred soup that didn't need stirring. "You think it's her?" the boy called softly. She didn't answer. He said again, "You think it's Mama?" "I think I should have asked more questions," she said. The boy didn't move. "He hurt you?" she asked. He hesitated. "Only with silence," he said. She looked at the well. Funny what silence can bury. She stood slowly. The ribbon dropped from her lap to the grass. She didn't pick it up. As she walked past the boy on the steps, she whispered, "Don't tell anyone." He looked up. "What do I say if they ask?" "Say she ran." They won't believe it. They never did before." He looked back toward the well. "What happens now?" "Now I remember." She opened the door. He followed. The wind shifted behind them, and the dirt by the stones settled like it hadn't been touched in years. She woke to the smell first. Thick, bitter, wrong. The kind that doesn't belong in a house but drags itself in anyway. The boy was already sitting up on the cot, eyes wide. "You smell that?" he asked. She was already on her feet. "Stay here." She moved fast, grabbed the shotgun leaning behind the stove, and swung open the door. Smoke rolled low across the grass like it had something to say. She turned her head toward the barn. Orange light flickered behind the slats. "No!" She ran. "Stay put!" She shouted over her shoulder, but she heard his steps behind her, small and frantic. The barn doors were cracked just wide enough for flame to speak. The fire licked the frame like it was hungry. Not in a rush, just sure of itself. She yanked one side open. Inside, hay burned quickly, climbing the wooden beams like a ladder. The heat hit her chest hard. "The mare!" she yelled. The boy darted past her. "No!" But he was already halfway to the stall. She followed, smoke biting her eyes. Boards popped above, heat pressing down like fists. He was pulling at the latch. "Help me!" he shouted. She shoved it free. The door swung open. The horse bolted into the night, wild and steaming. They turned together and ran, choking, coughing, tripping over each other as the barn moaned and leaned in on itself. They hit the grass just as the roof fell. She rolled onto her back, pulled him into her arms. His chest heaved, her throat burned. Then, boots, crunching on, gravel. The light of the fire painted a long shadow across the yard. Sheriff Merton, standing still as a post, hat low, arms behind his back. She pushed herself up. "You did this." He didn't blink. "I'm just watching." She stood all the way, body shaking. "That barn held everything I had left." He tilted his head. "Held too much." "You said it." "I didn't lift a finger." She stepped closer. "Then why are you here?" "Thought I'd see how quick you'd run when the past lit up." She pointed the shotgun at him. "Try me." He didn't flinch. "Funny how fire makes people honest," he said. The boy stayed close to her side, eyes on the sheriff's boots. "You could have killed him," she said. "Could have, didn't." She spat at his feet. "You want something," she said. "You wouldn't burn it otherwise." He looked toward the flames. "I just wanted what was mine. Nothing here belongs to you." He smiled without teeth. "That boy does." She chambered the round. "No. Mama gave him to me," the sheriff said. "In trade, years back." The boy whispered, "He's lying." She gritted her teeth. "She never said that." "She didn't need to." The sheriff said, "Some debts are understood." "You think you own people?" "Think I own what was promised." The barn hissed behind them, beams falling one by one. She lowered the shotgun slightly. "You're a coward." "I'm patient." "You waited for him to show up just to claim him as livestock?" He nodded once. "Timing matters." "Not anymore." "Are you going to shoot me in front of a child?" "If I have to." The boy tugged her sleeve. "He wants the ledger." She didn't turn. "I know. He thinks it's in the barn." The sheriff's smile slipped just slightly. She caught it. "It wasn't," she said. "No? Too flammable." His eyes narrowed. "Where is it?" "Where you'll never touch it." The fire lit his face now, shadows rising up his cheeks like cracks. "You think this ends with paper?" he asked. "I think it ends with you walking away." He didn't move. She raised the gun again. He raised his hands slowly. "No need for that." "Then leave." He backed away, step by step, until the fire swallowed his outline. She held her breath until the shadow disappeared completely, then turned to the boy. "You all right?" He nodded. "You shouldn't have followed me. I wasn't going to let you go alone." She almost smiled. They stood there, watching the barn die. "Everything in there's gone," she said. He looked at her. "Not everything." She waited. He pointed at the house. The truth still breathing. She lowered the gun. "Yes, and he's afraid of it." She looked back toward where the sheriff had been. Good. Smoke wrapped the sky. Above them, like a warning, they turned and walked back inside, stepping over ash that used to be home. The barn was nothing but ribs and ash come morning. Charred beams stuck from the wreckage like broken fingers. Smoke drifted slowly, low to the ground, curling through grass and crawling toward the porch. She stood barefoot in the yard, hands stiff at her sides. Her nightdress clung with sweat and soot. The boy had been up before her, already knee-deep in the blackened pile, moving careful, slow. "You'll cut your hands," she called out. He didn't stop digging, just said, "There's something here." She didn't move. He crouched lower, brushing away wet ash with the sleeve of his shirt. The air still carried the sting of heat and ruin. Then he paused, reached down, pulled something free. Metal, small, dark. He turned and held it up to the light. She didn't need to see it up close. Her stomach twisted. The badge. Her husband's. She took 2 steps back. The boy looked confused. "It's his, right?" She nodded. He walked toward her, holding it out like it might still mean something. "It's burned some." She took it. It was hot in her hand, like it hadn't cooled all night. She turned it over, scratched initials still there, not the sheriff's, her husband's. The boy's voice lowered. "Mama said he wore it when he hurt her." Her fingers closed tight around the metal. She said it always shined, even when he didn't. "Stop," she said. She said the shine was the last thing she saw before. "I said stop." He froze. She turned her back to him, breathing hard. The badge burned in her hand, but she didn't let go. "Why was it in the barn?" she whispered. The boy didn't answer. She turned. "Tell me." She said he kept it there sometimes, when he didn't want to be seen with it. He never left it behind. She said he did last night. Her throat closed. He came to her wearing his coat, but not his badge. She said he smelled like smoke. Her knees went weak. She gripped the porch railing. He said no one would believe her, said he was the law and she was dirt. She stared at the ash, at the black pile that used to hold tools, feed, and horses, and secrets. The boy stepped beside her. She said you were different. "I didn't stop him," she said quietly. "You didn't know." "I knew something." Silence. He looked at the badge, still clutched in her hand. She said the badge lied louder than his mouth. She opened her fist. I looked down at it. The metal was warped from the heat. The pin on the back was broken. She whispered, "He wore this when he asked me to lie for him." The boy looked up. "When?" "Before you were born, maybe." "What did he want you to lie about?" "Land." "A girl." She claimed something that wasn't his. The boy waited. She was right, but the badge said she was wrong. She stepped off the porch. I walked back toward the wreckage. "Where'd you find it?" He pointed. She crouched, brushed more ash aside. Beneath it, near where the mare's stall used to be, was something else. A box. Metal corners. Hinged. Locked. She ran her hands along the lid. The boy stepped closer. "What's that?" She didn't answer. She stood and walked back to the house, returned with the iron rod from the fireplace, jammed it into the seam, twisted hard. The latch snapped. Inside, scorched papers, letters, ink melted into a blur. But one thing survived. A photo. Her husband. Young. Holding a rifle, arm slung over a man she didn't recognize. The boy stared. "That's him." She nodded. He pointed at the other man. "Who's that?" "I don't know." The boy leaned in. "He looks like someone I saw. In town. Real old." She stared longer. "Might be his father. Or his shadow." She placed the photo on the porch rail. Let the wind take it. It floated down into the ash, half curling, then settled. The boy turned toward her. "Why keep it?" "Because some men only love their lies when they're framed." She stepped back inside, placed the badge on the kitchen table. It looked smaller now. The boy stood in the doorway. "What are you going to do with it?" "I don't know." He walked up quiet. "Mama said you had a choice once." She met his eyes. "I made the wrong one." She said you could make it again. She stared at the badge. "I could bury it," she whispered. "Would it stay buried?" "No." She picked it up, took it to the stove, hold it over the flame, waited. The metal didn't melt, just blackened more. She dropped it into the ashes in the tray below, turned to the boy. "Next time he comes, I want you to stay behind me." The boy's jaw set. "I won't run." "You might have to." He reached out, touched her sleeve. "I won't leave." They stood there in the kitchen, both smelling of smoke and memory. The fire inside the stove caught again. No one spoke, but the badge down in the ashes finally stopped shining. The fire had burned low, not out, but soft enough that the house returned to breathing. Floorboards cracked in slow rhythm. The wind tapped the windows like it wanted to. Somewhere, the kettle rocked gently on the cold stove, metal against metal. She woke fast, no dream behind it, just the feeling that something had moved without permission. The boy wasn't in the cot. She sat up, heart already pounding. The room was dim, shadows tall across the walls, crawling, and then creak. From the parlor, she stood, barefoot, didn't call his name, didn't light the lamp, just moving quietly, slowly, knowing noise gave things shape. At the edge of the doorway, she saw him. The boy sat in the chair, not still, rocking, slow, back and forth. His lips moved. At first, no sound came, then soft like breath. "Papa." She froze. The chair rocked again, louder this time. "Papa, I'm here." Her skin went cold. The room wasn't just quiet, it was listening. She stepped in. "What are you doing?" The boy didn't look up. He whispered again. "It's him." "No." "He's back." "No, he's not." "He's in the chair." She crossed the room fast and grabbed his arm. He didn't pull away, just turned slowly to face her. His eyes were glassy, like he wasn't really seeing her. "He said your name." "No." "I heard it." "You heard what you wanted." The chair rocked once more, and stopped. Her grip tightened. "You don't say that word in this house." "Why?" "Because it doesn't belong here." He stared, but this was his home. It was something, not home. "He said he built it for you." "No." "He said you used to sing." Her throat closed. The boy's voice dropped. "He said you had a song for mornings, one about the rain." She let go. He looked down. "How did I know that?" "You didn't. You guessed." "No." "Someone told you. Your mother. She never heard you sing." Her legs buckled slightly. The house creaked again. Somewhere deep, under the floor or inside the walls, the sound moved. She turned toward the chair. It is still sitting now, but the cushion looked heavier, like it held weight that didn't leave. "You're dreaming," she said. "I'm not asleep." She backed away. "Don't sit there again." "I didn't mean to." "Don't let it pull you." He stood. "He said he'd protect me." "He never protected anyone." "He said I belonged here." She snapped. "You belong to no one." Silence swelled between them. The wind outside picked up, shoving at the glass. The boy moved closer. "He said he never meant to hurt you." She laughed once, a bitter sound. "Men always say that when they're not in the room anymore," he whispered. "He said he still loves you." She shook her head. "Stop saying what he said." "I can't help it. He says it when I sit there." The chair creaked behind them. Neither turned. She whispered, "You're not a mouth for the dead." "He's not dead." "He is." "He said you buried him." She froze. "He said you did it yourself." Her voice barely came. "Did he say where?" The boy nodded. "Then he's lying." He looked confused. "Why would he lie?" "To stay here." The kettle shook once on the stove. She turned to it. It wasn't boiling, just moving. "Go to bed," she said. "But now." He stepped back. "Will he follow me?" "Only if you let him." The boy looked at the chair one more time, then walked slowly toward the cot, lying down with the blanket pulled to his chin. She stayed in the room, alone now, staring at the thing that had once held a man she loved, a man she feared, a man she put in the ground with her own hands. The fire behind her hissed once, then faded to quiet. She approached the chair, one step at a time, stood in front of it, sat down. It didn't rock, didn't creak, just held her. The cushion sank under her weight. The air changed. It got heavier. A smell rose from the fabric. Smoke, pine, blood. Her hands gripped the armrests. The wood felt warm. Her mouth opened. "Why'd you come back?" she whispered. Nothing answered, but in her chest something moved. Not a thought, not a memory. Just weight, like guilt, pressed hard. She closed her eyes, and she heard it. Not a voice, not quite, but a breath. Inside her own ribs, not hers. She shot up from the chair, stumbled back. The room tilted. She gasped. The boy sat up in the cot. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer. He stood and walked to her, touched her arm. "What did you feel?" She whispered. "He's not in the chair." The boy frowned. "Then where?" She looked down, touched her chest. "I think I brought him in with me." The fire flared suddenly. then died. The whole house went still, like it had gotten what it wanted. The chair sat there, empty again, but not harmless. She didn't see him come up the path, just heard the boards creak beneath boots she'd learned to recognize before they landed. She stepped onto the porch without a word, shotgun resting by the doorframe. Sheriff Merton stood near the steps, thumbs in his belt, squinting like he had something important to say, but couldn't remember why he came. She leaned against the post. "You lost again." He took a step closer. "That boy doesn't belong to you." She didn't flinch. "Then who does he belong to?" His eyes shifted. "To the debt." From inside the house, behind the screen door, the boy stood still, ribbon clenched in one hand, eyes on her back. "What debt?" she asked. "You know damn well. Spell it out." "Your husband owed favors. And you think the boy is what he paid for?" The sheriff took another step. "His mama made promises. She made none for me. She made them for him. That means they fall to you now. That's not how blood works." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Out here it is." She tilted her head. "You came all this way to tell me that?" "Number, I came to warn you." "Try again." He glanced at the door. "You keeping him inside won't protect him." "You think I'm protecting him?" "Feels like it." She stepped off the post, came down 2 steps toward him. "You're the one afraid, not me. You say that fear's a weakness. In your case, it is." He adjusted his hat. "You think fire was the end of it?" "No." "Good." He glanced toward the well. "Things buried have a way of crawling back up when the ground softens." She didn't look away. "Then I'll stomp harder." He smirked. "He's not yours to keep. I never said I was keeping him." "Then hand him over." Her voice dropped. "You touch him, and I'll put a hole through that badge you keep borrowing." He raised his hand slightly. "I ain't here to fight." "You already did, when you lit that barn." "You can't prove that." "I don't have to." The boy stepped out onto the porch behind her, quiet, but not hiding. The ribbon hung limp from his hand now, dragging against the floorboards. The sheriff nodded toward him. "She told you where she found that?" The boy said nothing. "Ask her," the sheriff continued. "Ask where she stood when it was buried." She turned. "Don't listen." But the boy stepped forward. "What do you know about my mama?" The sheriff looked pleased. "More than she does." She grabbed the boy's shoulder. "Go inside." "No." "She's lying to you," the sheriff said. "Always has." The boy stared. "Then you tell it." The sheriff's face twitched, just once. He said, "Your mama gave you up before she bled." "Don't." Her voice was sharp now, trembling. "She traded your name for mercy, and he gave it. Your father did." The boy looked at her. She didn't speak. "Ask her where the grave is," the sheriff said. "Ask her who helped dig it." "Enough." "You think you're saving him." "I think I'm ending it." The sheriff stepped back, one hand on his belt. "You're not the law anymore," she said. "You're just a man with too many secrets and not enough time. I'm the only one left who remembers the deal." "Then forget it." The boy stepped down beside her. The sheriff looked at him. "You look like him." The boy stared back. "Not inside." The sheriff turned to her. "This ends one of 2 ways. It has already ended. You're just too slow to feel it." He looked down at the ribbon in the boy's hand. Red was always her color. She raised the shotgun slightly. "You have 5 seconds to walk away." He took one slow breath, then turned. Boots creaked down the steps. Dust kicked up behind him. He didn't look back. The boy turned to her. "Did he help bury her?" She looked at the trees. "I don't know." "You believe him?" "I believe he wants you to be afraid." "I'm not." "Good." He handed her the ribbon. She took it, fingers shaking. He whispered, "I think she's still listening." They stood on the porch together, watching the sheriff disappear into the trees like smoke, and the house behind them creaked once, like it had something left to say. She lit the lamp low. The room stayed dark in the corners, shadows hanging like wet cloth. The boy sat at the table, quiet, the ribbon tied around, his wrist now like a mark that couldn't be scrubbed off. She moved slowly, methodically, her hands unsteady even though she tried to hide it. The revolver was wrapped in an old dish towel buried at the back of the pantry behind the mason jars and dry beans. She hadn't touched it since the night her husband vanished. She unwrapped it and laid it flat on the table. The metal still held warmth somehow. The boy looked at it, then at her. She didn't sit. "Tell me who you are." He looked down at the wood grain. "Mama said you'd know." "Don't say that again." "She did." "I'm tired of riddles." "I'm not a riddle." She took a deep breath. "Then speak plainly." The boy's fingers touched the edge of the table. "She said you were the first to hold me, before her." Her knees weakened, but she didn't let them fold. "She said you saw me before I cried." "I don't." "She said you whispered something." She stared. "What did I say?" "I don't know." "Then how do you know it happened?" "She said you wept." The room pulsed with quiet. She lowered herself into the chair across from him. The gun sat between them, heavy as the grave. "She said you kissed my head and said, 'He won't break you like he broke me.'" Tears came fast, no warning. He didn't blink. "She said I was born of silence, but carried noise in my chest." She reached for the revolver, pulled it closer. "She said if you showed me the gun, it meant you were ready." "Ready for what?" "To tell me the truth." The door shook suddenly. 3 hard knocks. She jolted. The boy didn't move. Outside, boots on the porch. "Open up," the sheriff barked. Her hand hovered over the revolver. "Don't," the boy said. She didn't answer, pounding again. "I know what's in there." She stood slowly, gun in hand, walked to the door, but didn't open it. "What do you want?" she called. "You know damn well. You're not lawful here." "I don't need a badge to collect." She tightened her grip. "Collect what?" "What was promised?" She leaned her head against the door. "You think he promised you a child?" "He promised me silence." "And this is how you ask for it?" "I'm done asking." She stepped back from the door, turned to the boy. He hadn't moved, just kept watching. "What did she tell you about your father?" she asked. He blinked once. That he made noise when he drank. That he loved his own reflection. That he hated mirrors. She almost smiled. "She said he was handsome once, but only from far away." "She told you his name?" He nodded. "Not till the end." "What was it?" He swallowed. "Same as yours." She closed her eyes. Footsteps outside again. Pacing. Circling. "Let me in," the sheriff said. "We end this tonight." She moved back to the table. Saturday. The gun lay between them again. "Did she ever say why she left you with me?" The boy nodded. "She said it was the only way I'd live." "And why now?" "She said the house would be remembered." The door shook. "You bring him out, and I walk away," the sheriff shouted. The boy flinched. "Lies," she whispered. "She said he'd say that he'd promise anything once the fire didn't work." The doorknob twisted. Locked. But for how long? She looked at the gun, then at him. "What if I told you I did hold you that night?" He waited. "What if I told you I left you on her porch and walked away?" He looked down. "I thought you were better off." "I wasn't. I know that now." The hammer of the revolver clicked as she pulled it back. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Choosing." The door cracked, a splintered sound. She stood again, moved toward it. "I can open it," she said, "or I can fire through it." The sheriff's voice dropped low. "You shoot me, and he'll never stop following you." "Then maybe I should have shot him instead." A pause. Then, "I'm not the one who broke the deal." "No," she said. "He was." She aimed at the door. Silence on the other side. She waited. Then the sound of boots retreating. Slow, measured. He wasn't running. He was waiting again. She let the hammer down, stepped away. Turned to the boy. "We have until morning." He nodded. She placed the revolver back on the table. Neither of them touched it again that night, but both watched it, like it might speak next. She hadn't slept, but her eyes were closed. The boy sat across from her, silent again. Same chair, same posture. Ribbon tied tight around his wrist, now darkened with ash and age. The revolver sat on the table like a third presence. She opened her eyes when she felt it, his hand, small and trembling, slipping into hers. She didn't pull away. He squeezed. "Papa's gone." She blinked. He swallowed hard. "Mama said you're mine now." The words landed like a nail hammered into wood. She felt her breath catch, chest tightening in slow circles. Her lip trembled, but she didn't speak. "She said he left me a name, and that you'd decide if I got to keep it." She gripped his hand harder. "I don't need time to decide." He looked up. "She said you'd cry." Her eyes were wet before she realized it. "I don't cry for him," she whispered. "I cry for what he left me holding." They sat still together. A breeze crept in through the cracked window. The curtain swayed once, then stopped. Outside, gravel shifted. She stood fast, pulling the boy behind her. Through the glass, she saw the glint, a long barrel. The sheriff standing by the edge of the porch, rifle raised but not aimed, just resting in his arms like a promise. He didn't knock this time, didn't speak, just stood. There, watching. She opened the door slowly, keeping herself between him and the child. He didn't blink. "You look tired," he said. "You look wrong." He looked past her. "Does he speak yet?" "No." She lied with ease now. He stepped closer. "Did he tell you what I said?" "You're done talking." He raised the rifle slightly. "I'm just here to remind you what happens when promises get broken." She stepped onto the porch. "I've already buried a liar this year," she said. He chuckled. "Are you saying I'm next?" "Number, I'm saying you're late." His jaw worked side to side. "He's mine." "Number, he was never yours." "I made a deal with the Father." "The Father made fire and blood." "I honored my end." "Then go dig him up and ask for your refund." Behind her, the boy stood in the doorway. The sheriff saw him. His mouth twitched. "There he is." "Step back," she said. "I just want to talk to him." "You're not owed his voice." The sheriff took one slow step onto the porch. "He has something of mine. He doesn't even know your name. He doesn't need to. Blood remembers. You're not his blood. I was promised his silence. And you didn't get it." The sheriff's finger brushed the trigger. Inside, the chair creaked. Once. She froze. The boy didn't move, but the chair didn't rock. It just sighed, then stayed still. She stepped between the sheriff and the door. "You fire that rifle, and I won't let the ground take you." His voice was calm now. "You've taken in something cursed." "I've taken in what's mine." He tilted his head. "Then we're both thieves." She lowered her voice. He spoke. "This morning." The sheriff's eyes lit. "What did he say?" "That you're done." Silence. The wind caught the dust. He didn't speak. She walked down the steps, stood inches from the muzzle. "Pull that trigger and you'll hear him again, but not the way you want." The boy behind her called out softly, "Mama said you can't shoot what already left you." The sheriff looked shaken for the first time. She turned, surprised. The boy stepped out into the sun. "Papa's gone," he said. "You're chasing a shadow." The sheriff raised the gun. She slapped it aside. It fired into the dirt. She pressed the barrel against his chest. "I buried him. You want to join?" His breath hitched. The boy said again, louder, "Papa's gone." The chair inside didn't creak, didn't shift. Still. Empty. Like a door finally closed. She stepped back from the sheriff. He stared at the boy. "You really believe that?" The boy nodded. "I felt him leave." The sheriff lowered the rifle slowly. She said, "You're not feared anymore." He nodded once, then turned. I walked into the trees, left the rifle behind, leaning against the porch rail. She looked at the boy. "You okay?" He nodded. "He won't come back." She whispered, "No. He won't." They walked back inside. The chair sat still. The house didn't speak, and for the first time, the silence felt clean. The sky hadn't cracked open yet. The sun was only a thought, not a thing. She carried the boy in her arms like she had once imagined carrying her own. His head rested on her shoulder, breath warm against her neck. He wasn't asleep, just still. The door groaned as she opened it, then fell quiet. The porch boards creaked beneath her weight. Sheriff Merton stood in the yard, boots planted, rifle raised but not aimed. His coat fluttered in the breeze. He didn't speak. She didn't stop walking. Barefoot, steady, she stepped down the porch with the boy held close. His arms looped around her neck. The ribbon on his wrist trailed loose behind her like a piece of the past that hadn't been cut clean. She stopped a few feet from the sheriff. He didn't lower the rifle. She reached into her coat pocket, pulled out the blackened badge, hold it up with 2 fingers. "You came for this?" she asked. His eyes didn't move. She dropped it in the dirt. "Debt's paid." His jaw clenched. "That's not what I came for. Number, but it's all you're leaving with." He looked at the boy. The child didn't flinch. She shifted her stance. "You point that barrel again, and I'll make sure it's the last thing you ever hold." "I didn't come to shoot." "Then put it down." He hesitated. then set the rifle in the grass. Slow, careful. She stepped forward, planted herself between him and the weapon. You've haunted this land long enough. She made a deal. I unmade it. That's not how it works. It is now. He looked at the boy again. He's not yours. She didn't blink. He is now. He looks like him. I see no part of him in that child. The wind shifted, carrying the smell of fire long cooled. Then you're blind, the sheriff muttered. I'm free. The boy stirred in her arms. Can we go inside now? She nodded without turning. The sheriff stepped closer. She raised her chin. You touch either of us, she said, and the next shovel of dirt will be yours. He paused, then crouched, picked up the badge from the dirt. He wiped it with his sleeve. I looked at it. It was never his to begin with, he said. And it sure as hell ain't yours. He stood slowly, held the badge in both hands, then bent and laid it gently on the porch step. She watched him. He met her gaze one last time. You'll never forget him. No, she said, but I'll stop feeding the memory. He picked up his rifle, didn't sling it, didn't shoulder it, just walked out past the fence, down the road, and didn't look back. She turned to the boy. You all right? He nodded. Want to sit? Only with you. She smiled, weak but sure. Together, they sat on the porch. She held him close. The air was clean. No sound but morning. The chair inside stayed still. Didn't creak. Didn't rock. Didn't speak. She closed her eyes. The boy whispered, You think he's gone for good. She nodded. Then why's it still so quiet? She kissed the top of his head. Because it's finally allowed to be. The wind touched their faces gently. The badge on the step caught no light, just sat there, dull and still, forgotten. She rocked slowly, not the chair, but herself. The boy's fingers tangled in her sleeve. Are you mine now? He asked. She didn't answer right away. Then, I always was. He closed his eyes. The sun reached the edge of the hill, and the porch stayed quiet, just as it should.